welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm John Bachman. Joining us right now is Congressman Roger Williams of Texas. He serves on the House Budget Committee and is the former Texas Secretary of State, having been appointed by Governor Rick Perry. Congressman, it's great to talk to you.
Well, it's great to talk to you today. Appreciate having us on.
All right, we had a lot to talk about out there, but I do want to focus on the issue of jobs and tax reform. This, of course, is still what the majority of American people want Congress to tackle and deal with right now. Tell us what specifically you're working on to address these two very important issues that affect every single American out there right now.
Well, I think the issue everywhere, whether it's my district, the state of Texas, or everywhere, is what are we going to do about the economy? How are we going to fix the economy? And I'm a business guy. I've been in business 42 years. I've employed people for that long. I consider myself a job creator. And I think what we have to do is we have to be able to put people to work and let small business begin to hire folks. And quite frankly, small business is Main Street is playing defense. We don't know where we are on taxes still. We don't know where we are on Obamacare. We don't know where we are on cap and trade and all the things that are keeping business from expanding, so we just play defense. So what we've got to do is we've got to have true tax reform. We've got to get the government out of health care, and I believe certainly in Texas, we got to energize the energy business to create some jobs, strengthen our military, balance our budget, and I think that we've got an America that's ready to go again.
Well, Texas, the economy there is doing better than a lot of states, but when you say that we're playing defense, who do you mean we, and what do you mean specifically about playing defense?
Well, when I say we, I'm talking about families. I'm talking about small business owners unable to hire people. I mean, you look at our unemployment rate at 7.8%, which is the latest what we've seen. 15% of the people are underemployed, 15% of the people in poverty. I mean, we're just playing defense because we can't afford to hire anybody right now. And you know, businesses are doing better. But as I like to say, they're in many cases not generating a profit, they're saving a profit, their employment's down, they're hiring part-time people, and everybody is just concerned what's around the corner. Frankly, we don't know what's around the corner on taxes. We don't know what's around the corner now on health care. We know it's going to hurt jobs, it's going to hurt our ability to hire people, it's going to affect the bottom line, and we've got to be able to generate jobs rather than cutting back and trying to save margins to where we were when we had more jobs. So when I say playing defense, that's what I mean. You know, families too. Families are not taking a vacation. Families may not buy another house. Families may not buy another car because they just don't know what's around the corner. And it all gets down to the fact that nobody trusts the federal government today.
Yeah, and that is partly due to the fact that we have this IRS scandal still hovering over Washington right now. We've seen how the House vote to cut the IRS's budget quite a bit. That partly has to do with Obamacare as well. But now that the IRS is really under the microscope and there are a lot of Americans asking questions about what actually goes on inside the walls of the IRS, does it seem to you right now like, you know, guys like you have more leverage when it comes to this issue of tax reform, that this is one of those triggers that can bring about real change?
Well, I think so. And even before the IRS, people were concerned that in many cases, polls show us that maybe over half the people are not investing at all in America, which is not fair. And then you couple this with the IRS, an agency that's a total rogue agency that's out there doing things on their own. They even ignored the president when he asked him not to declare $70 million in bonuses because they were doing a good job. I mean, nobody trusts them. Everybody fears them, regardless of your ethnicity, your status in life financially, or whatever. Nobody trusts the IRS. So it's a great time to begin to have dialogue on doing away with the IRS. It's a great time to have dialogue on fair, flat tax reform like we talked about, cutting corporate taxes, cutting personal income tax, cutting cap gains, cutting dividends, doing away with inheritance tax, all those things we need to do to bring our economy back. But there's no question the IRS just exemplifies the fact that heavy-handed government on the people does not work, and that's another reason we're playing defense.
Now, you mentioned that it's a good time to have this discussion about eliminating the IRS, an idea proposed by Texas Senator Ted Cruz, among others. Do you, though, believe that the IRS should be eliminated?
Well, let me tell you, our government is too big right now. There's a lot of agencies that I believe should be downsized or even some eliminated. I mean, that's what businesses do. When business gets slow, you cut back. Our business is slow in the federal government, and we haven't cut back. We continue to grow.
So for the IRS, does it need to be cut back, or does it need to be eliminated?
No, the IRS certainly needs to be cut back, and I propose we start with elimination of the IRS and then take it forward. That's why we need to begin to have dialogue on fair, flat tax that would downsize the Internal Revenue Service and maybe pass tax collection on to another department. But they've already proven that they don't even listen to their president. They're a rogue agency, as I said earlier. They're out there on their own, and it's not good for America, it's not good for the taxpayers, and it's not good for the attitude of free markets and capitalism to grow our country.
Well, we'll see what happens after these investigations that are going on in several committees right now in Congress about the future of the IRS. I want to leave that issue aside for 1 second and talk about the debt ceiling, because that is coming up again sooner or later, and it's one of those things that Congress can't delay much longer. And a lot of folks are looking at this as maybe the next opportunity, the next kind of painful incentive perhaps for Congress to come together and do something like comprehensive tax reform, or maybe finalize a real deal long-term budget. But some Senate Democrats are saying, you know what, Congress shouldn't get paid until the debt ceiling is increased or that they deal with this issue. What's your take on the debt ceiling right now? How do you think this debate is going to play out?
Well, I think the debt ceiling, you know, if raising the debt ceiling worked, we wouldn't be raising the debt ceiling. And one of the things I ran on when I ran for Congress as a business guy is that we need to get our house in order. And you know, small businesses around the country, families, when they hit their credit line, we'll call it, they have no other where to go but to cut expenses, because that's where your cash is. When you're in business, if you've maxed out on your credit line, you only cut expenses, you cut people, you cut departments, whatever, to get cash. And I frankly think that's where the federal government needs to be. Now, I was one of 33 Republicans that voted against the debt ceiling in January, I believe it was. And I just believe that we have to continue to look at stop going further and further in debt. We need to cut expenses. We need to get our cash flow that way. We need to get our house in order. We need to begin to create a net worth back in America. I believe America is no different than any other small business. I look at America as a holding company, 50 small businesses within that holding company, and they each need to compete. And I just believe that continuing to raise the debt ceiling gets us further and further in debt. We know what happens is when we get further and further in debt, we could have our bond rating downgraded, as we've seen, and interest rates possibly could go up. And that's the last thing we need right now. So I vote against the debt ceiling increase. I'll have to see what comes up probably in November. But I think we need to get our house in order by controlling expenses.
Now, there, of course, are some folks out there who say if we don't raise the debt ceiling, it's impossible to pay our obligations. And that might also result in another credit downgrading from one of these rating agencies, or perhaps other financial problems, maybe another tumble in the stock market with things being like they are right now with a lot of concern and fear out there. But you think that raising the debt ceiling is worse. And not raising the debt ceiling is the lesser of two evils here.
Well, it hasn't worked in the past, but nobody talks about the cash flow we have in America. We're going to have $3 trillion in cash flow this year, maybe more cash flow than we've ever had in the history of our country. And if you can't run your business of America on that kind of cash flow, I think there's a heck of a problem. And so we have cash flow, and those that say we won't be able to pay our bills, that's not necessarily true. We have this cash flow coming in. It would be enough to pay our necessary bills, and I think we shouldn't shy away from that. We need to take a hard look at cutting expenses, just like every family, every business does in America, and get us on a pathway to what I call fiscal sanity. Although we passed a really good budget, as you know. I'm on the budget committee with Paul Ryan, and we passed a balanced budget, balances in 10 years with no tax increases, where the other side has one that doesn't balance and has $1 trillion in tax increase. So there's certainly different views on how to handle the finances of America, but I continue as a businessman. If I'm not sure what I do, I always go back to what I would do in my family and what I do in my business, and it's always worked out for me.
Yeah, and a lot of folks are wondering how much longer, and I hate to use this term because it's so overused, but how much longer they can be kicked down the road. I also want to get your take real quick because on immigration, because while you were in state politics in Texas, you served as the chief liaison for the Texas border and Mexican affairs. So let's talk about immigration reform a little bit more. You, of course, being from Texas, have maybe a different opinion than other House Republicans about this issue because you've seen it firsthand. Give us your take on the feeling, and was there some sort of consensus that emerged from this meeting of the Republican caucus yesterday on immigration reform?
Well, I think that everybody agrees we need to do something about our situation. Like you say, when I was Secretary of State of Texas, a good part of what I did was oversee the border. And I can tell you the border it's porous. We've got a lot of issues down there. We do need to secure the border first. Now, you know, we have to come up with what is secure, but I personally believe we need to start with boots on the ground. But we've got several things happening down there. It's just not people coming over to get a job. We've got this drug war going on. We've got terrorists coming over here that don't want a job. They want to kill us. A lot of reasons to secure the border. But we've got to have border security first, and then we need to address those that are here. And then we also need to take a look at our visa program and get some flexible numbers to where if the ag industry needs X amount of people to work, they can get it. If the tech industry needs it, they can get it to work. We need to couple it with tax reform and begin to create that net worth I talked about in America, but do it all legally. Legally, we have laws on the books now that we need to address. But I think at the end of the day, we've got to start with border security. And once we arrive at the border being secure, then we move to the next components.
The last question for you, Congressman. I know there's a lot of areas about this bill that you can poke holes in. There's a lot of criticisms out there, and even some of the authors, including Marco Rubio, will tell you it's not perfect. But I want to get your answer to this question. Considering what we have in place right now, and I think most folks will agree the immigration system is broken beyond repair, but is the Senate bill better than what we have in place right now?
Well, the problem with the Senate bill is it doesn't address border security. It addresses border security after the fact. And so I think what we're going to do in the House is come up with a House bill that I think will be more deliverable. I think it'll be more workable. I think it'll be what will work. But we have to have border security first. And I think when the Senate bill talks about pathway to citizenship, the truth of the matter is I've talked to a lot of folks that they're not concerned about coming over to be a citizen. They want to get a job. And we already have laws in place if you want to be a citizen. There's millions of people right now as we speak that are going through the process to be a citizen. So I think if we secure the border, identify who's here, and work a visa program that allows us to have the jobs that we need in America, that's a workable program, and one that I think that a lot of people would accept.
And until that actual bill emerges in the House of Representatives, though, can you answer that question? What the Senate has proposed, is it better? Would it be an improvement on the system we have right now?
Yeah, I would not support the Senate bill.
Okay, all right, Congressman Roger Williams, a great interview and a pleasure talking with you today, sir, and hope we can talk to you again real soon.
Let's do it again, and thank you, and God bless.
All right, have a great day, and thanks for watching Newsmax TV.